Pasta alla Norma is a pasta that is really famously from Sicily, from Catania more specifically, which is the region that my great grandmother was from. And there are stories, possibly even arguments, as there tend to be when it comes to the origin, the creation of something, whether it's a recipe or mechanics or spa treatments. I don't know. I wasn't around in the early 1800s when apparently this came to be. But basically, my understanding is there was an opera called Norma by Vincenzo Bellini. And some people say that because this opera was such a massive success, it was so magnificent and perfect and fantastic, that the word norma started to be used to describe things that were perfect. And so that's how the pasta got this name, or this recipe got this name. Some people say it's because Vincenzo himself actually ate the pasta and declared that it was a real norma. And some people say that someone else said it, not him. A comedic writer named Nino Martolio apparently ate the pasta and said, "This is a real norma." And some people just say that the pasta dish itself was just a tribute to Mr. Bellini, and that is why they call it pasta alla Norma. I really don't know. Like I said, I wasn't here in the 1800s, or there, I should say. If you were, feel free to comment below and let me know what actually happened that day, the day that this pasta was named. Or if you have another version of the story, or if you made up your own version of the story, please leave that in the comments also. I'm into it. I'm interested. I'm here for it. More importantly than all of this fantastic story, or at least equally as importantly, is just the fact that this very simple but delicious pasta is made out of some staple ingredients that are famously part of the diet in Sicily, in Catania, and the main ingredients being tomatoes, eggplant, and a cheese called ricotta salata, which I did not put in this dish, and I did not attempt to recreate in a plant-based way, but I just used Parmesan. Don't tell anyone. I used a vegan Parmesan. What else? Tomatoes, eggplant, and basil and garlic. There's some other things, you'll see. So I'm going to share that with you today. It's super simple, it's rustic, it's delicious, and it's norma. Also, I'm going to show you 3 ways to use rosemary. I'm starting to harvest the herbs, not starting, but I am finishing the harvest of the herbs that are left in my garden boxes, which is a really bittersweet thing because I always get very excited to do that, but then I also feel sad because it's kind of indicative of the season, the growing season coming to an end. And I don't know. So I'm very reluctant. Sometimes I leave it too long. I'm trying not to do that this year. So I've been picking a bunch of the herbs that are in the garden to either preserve them or use them up now or make things out of them that will be used soon. So today, rosemary, 3 ways, 2 ways that you can use rosemary in your house and 1 way that you can use it in your hair. I make the simplest of tomato sauces for this recipe. You can use canned, diced, peeled tomatoes or crushed tomatoes, or even passata, which is just like a pureed tomato, basically. You can use super ripe Roma tomatoes, preferably peeled also. And then, of course, not any, but the more seasoning you add, the more flavorful this will be. I have oregano growing in my garden boxes outside, so I picked some of that. And then we also had a bunch of small, like cherry and grape type tomatoes growing that were overripe that needed to be used up. So it was a tiny bit annoying because I peeled all of them. It took me a very, 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 very long time to do that. but it was delicious and worth it. And I just try sometimes to, I don't know, just get into a meditative state when I'm doing a tedious job like that. I do love cooking. I do love being in the kitchen. And I do love connecting with the food that I'm making. So if I just remind myself of that, that's pretty helpful. So yeah, I picked some of the oregano and I peeled and chopped the grape tomatoes just roughly. And I also peeled and chopped some garlic, which I sauteed just until it was starting to be a bit translucent in some olive oil, along with some red pepper, chili flakes. And then I poured my tomatoes into the pan with that, and I let that simmer for quite a while, like a couple of hours, along with the fresh oregano and some salt and pepper as well. For your eggplant, you can do this a number of different ways. I mean, not if you're a purist, of course, in which case you're just gonna slice a big fat Italian eggplant and saute the slices in some olive oil. You can also roast your eggplant on a baking pan in the oven if you want, with just a bit of olive oil and salt and pepper sprinkled on it, but we'll get there in a second. What I wanted to say was that I absolutely love these little mini graffiti eggplants because they're so delicious. They're so buttery. They're not bitter like some bigger eggplants can be, and I know there's tricks to take that bitterness away, but I find with these mini graffiti eggplants, there just isn't any bitterness to begin with. You will chop or slice your eggplant in whatever size pieces you want, but remember, they will shrink for starters. So if you are slicing them and roasting them in the oven, you need to be mindful not to slice them too thin or they will dry out quite a bit. When you're sauteing them, they are absorbing more of the oil and it's not quite the same, but if you are roasting them in the oven, just be mindful that your slices are not too thin. Before you cook them though, we will salt them really well and leave them to sit for about half an hour. This will be one of the things that helps with the bitterness if you're using an eggplant that tends to be more bitter. Some people add their sauce to their pasta and mix that all up, and then they put the eggplant on top of the pasta, and I sometimes do that also. But if I am roasting the eggplant in the oven, I will actually add it to the sauce. Again, there are different ways to do this, and there are purists who will tell you you're doing it wrong pretty much no matter how you do it, but the way I like it and the way that it gets the eggplant really nice and juicy is to add the sauce directly to the eggplant and let that simmer for probably about 20 minutes, I guess, before I toss that with my drained pasta. And then I will serve that usually with some grated vegan Parmesan and sometimes also some fresh basil. As I said earlier, I have been harvesting the herbs that are still going strong out in the backyard, and the rosemary is doing beautifully. I used a bunch of it for my multiple attempts at making schiacciata all'uva, which is like a grape focaccia bread, which I will share with you eventually, but not yet because I haven't quite mastered it. But anyways, we're not going to talk about that now. Hopefully I will have perfected this recipe by the next grape season so I can share it with you. It's really, really fun. I just haven't found the perfect balance yet. Anyway, I also put a bunch of the rosemary aside to dry to use for things like roasted vegetables and other recipes like that. And rosemary has been used in herbal medicine for so many things. It has so many beautiful, powerful properties to it, and it is very often used for the scalp and hair, among other things. And it stimulates hair growth and reduces dandruff, and it makes your hair nice and shiny, and it makes it smell absolutely gorgeous. All you need for this is a handful of rosemary sprigs and a few cups of water. And what you're going to do is bring this water to a boil in a small saucepan. You can add the rosemary to the already boiling water, but you're going to turn the heat off right away and let that just sit and steep like a tea for at least 30 minutes and up to a couple of hours. I let mine sit for about 2 hours, and it just smells incredible. Once it's steeped, you're going to strain out the actual plant and just pour the clear liquid into a glass jar or bottle. And then to use that, you will just pour it right onto your hair and scalp after you've washed it. And you can massage it in gently, and you don't have to rinse it out or anything. And if you want, you can also just spray it on with a little spray bottle. This will last for about a week in the refrigerator. And if you don't think you're going to use it all within a week, you can also just freeze it in an ice cube tray and thaw out the cubes as you are going to use them. I also made a rosemary infused vinegar cleaner, which is literally just distilled vinegar and rosemary. It is natural, it is non-toxic, it smells so much better than just vinegar when you're cleaning the bathroom or the mirrors in the house. And again, like I said before, rosemary has all kinds of incredible properties. It is antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, which really doesn't matter when it comes to cleaning the bathroom. But again, this is just so incredibly easy. All you need is as many sprigs of rosemary as you can cram into your jar, and distilled white vinegar, which you will pour over the sprigs of rosemary, and seal the bottle, place it in a cool, dark place, shake it occasionally over 2 to 3 weeks, and then it's ready to mix 2 parts rosemary vinegar with 3 parts water in a spray bottle, and it is good to go for cleaning. The original vinegar or mother vinegar should last about 6 months at room temperature if you don't dilute it. And the diluted spray is gonna store well for about a month or so. You don't need to refrigerate them, but still keep them in a cool, dark place. And lastly, I made some rosemary salt. So I took 4 tablespoons of fresh rosemary and about 350 milliliters of sea salt, and I whizzed those up in the NutriBullet, and then I spread that onto a baking pan. There's a few ways to dry the salt out. You can put it in a dehydrator at 30 degrees Celsius or 86 degrees Fahrenheit for 6 to 12 hours. You can stick it in your oven at the lowest setting, and you can also leave it out to dry for a couple of days, just in whatever room you want that is not too humid. Once you're sure that the salt is very dry and the rosemary is crisp, you can funnel that into a jar, and it should be used within about 6 months. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. It means a tremendous amount to me. I know I say that every single video, but I truly mean it. It means so much to me. And if you are a Patreon subscriber or a Substack subscriber, I thank you endlessly for believing in what I'm doing and being a part of it and helping to make it possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are someone who would like to work one-on-one with me for naturopathy, there is a booking link in the description below. I see patients live here in Montreal, Canada, and online if you live elsewhere or are not able to come down to the clinic. So do I have anything else to say? I don't know, but I will be back very, very soon. And in the meantime, take really good care of yourselves.